look at them and just go, somewhere deep in you, there's some sort of love and compassion. You just haven't figured it out yet. Yeah. And you will.
Absolutely.
And give them that message and let them think you're, they'll probably think of every derogatory word for you having that positivity. And try and kill people with kindness. That's my only advice.
On the Todd Shapiro Show, SiriusXM 168.
This is Trump responding to the terrorist attack in Charlottesville, where this neo-Nazi wipe takes a car. And I saw some of this Vice documentary today. You see some of this Vice documentary? It's coming at it from all angles too. And this guy, I didn't even know. I actually thought the car was kind of being held onto and stuff. This guy just drove right into another car that then drove into people. And it's clearly shown on the Vice documentary. Watch that after 6 o'clock. But play some clips here.
I wanted to make sure, unlike most politicians, that what I said was correct. Not make a quick statement. The statement I made on Saturday, the first statement, was a fine statement. But you don't make statements that direct unless you know the fact. It takes a little while to get the facts. You still don't know the facts. And it's a very, very important process to me. And it's a very important statement. So I don't want to go quickly and just make a statement for the sake of making a political statement. I want to know the facts. If you go back to in fact, I brought it.
What did you bring, Mr. President?
As I said on, remember this, Saturday, we condemn in the strongest possible terms this egregious display of hatred, bigotry, and violence. It has no place in America. And then I went on from there. Now, here's the thing. Excuse me. Take it nice and easy. Here's the thing. When I make a statement, I like to be correct. I want the facts. This event just happened. In fact, a lot of the event didn't even happen yet as we were speaking. This event just happened. Before I make a statement, I need the facts. So I don't want to rush into a statement. So making the statement when I made it was excellent. In fact, the young woman, who I hear is a fantastic young woman, and it was on NBC, her mother wrote me and said, through, I guess, Twitter, social media, the nicest things, and I very much appreciated that. I hear she was a fine, really actually an incredible young woman, but her mother on Twitter thanked me for what I said.
How long is that clip? He didn't say a thing for 3 minutes. He just
It's about 2 minutes. And I will say, I do think a lot of people don't agree with the things I have to say with this stuff, but I think at this point the media does they do hold on to everything he does say, and then they get mad at him, and then now they're getting mad at him for something he didn't say. In this case, calling out the neo-Nazis and right away, or calling it a terrorist act. And it's you know what, I would say to the media, at this point, there's a lady who died. It's a terrible situation going on in the United States right now. I'm not excusing Trump's behavior, but I just don't know why you got to highlight it either so much. So he didn't say it that day. Maybe he was getting his facts straight. Maybe he didn't know who drove the car through to the person. Maybe it could have been someone from the other side. I'm not excusing it again. I just don't know why we got to dwell on things he did or didn't do, as opposed to just what are you doing right now? And part of me is he did call him out on it. He did say that part was terrible. And so at least maybe and didn't do it in hour one, but he did do it in day two. And I don't know. I know it's not right, but is it the worst thing in the world?
I think the problem is that this isn't the first thing that he's done that isn't great. If this was the first act where it's okay, I'm going to wait, then maybe it'd be a little more excusable. But because of what's been going on since he's become president, their patience is wearing thin. Even the people who voted for him now, are feeling like they made a huge mistake. So the fact that he's not just stepping up, everyone's why aren't you doing this?
Sure.
Right? So I think that's the issue here. That's why everyone's on him.
But I know it's just but I just don't know why everyone, even the fact that he's speaking as the president and everyone's interrupting him, that doesn't happen. I don't care if you don't like the guy. He's still the president of the United States. You don't interrupt. They wouldn't do that to Obama. They wouldn't do that to Bill Clinton. They won't interrupt during a press conference until he takes the questions and asks the questions. It reminds me of the mayor of Gotham City, we're like a movie scene now, not like a real. It's like where they're interrupting. What's the mayor's name in that fucking town again?
I'm thinking of Commissioner Gordon.
Yeah, Commissioner Gordon. That's what. Yeah. They're like Commissioner Gordon. It seems like a movie now. There's no. I'm not saying you need to respect the person, the president, or his opinions or what he says, but I do believe there is somewhere there where you should still respect the process.
Definitely. But again, I think the reason why they are kind of so on him and so interrupting him is because he's not really saying much. And I think this is a pattern with him. Like he did talk a lot. He said a lot of words, but he really didn't say much in that time.
Let me ask you a question. This can be very sensitive. I don't mean anything by it. You have to understand, I am the most impartial person here. Like I'm right in the middle, okay? And I hate these Nazis, but I'm right in the middle, and I'm for everyone, and my whole ideology can't ever exist because all I want is love and acceptance for all, and almost no religion in a way. Like maybe celebrate the tradition of the religion, but don't celebrate how the religion will you up because it doesn't allow you to like other religions, that kind of thing. Anyway, so so when I say things, there's never ill intent at all, but I know that there was a time that people would get mad at Obama for not calling out a terrorist for being of a certain religion, right? And Obama's kind of thing was, from what I understand and what I read, is like he wanted to basically gather all the facts first, and they're not really at that point. It's not like fair to even refer them to as a Muslim, I think, because they're extremists, right?
Yeah.
And isn't that kind of though what Trump did with the neo-Nazi? Isn't it? Is there any similarity there? That's all I'm asking.
I think he's just protecting from the alt-right and the Nazi, because I think there's a big difference. The ISIS was not going to vote for Obama. I think alt-right people...
So you don't think there's any...
There's probably some, but I think there was the majority of people who would be in a KKK or an alt-right.
But do you think
they would have voted for Trump. The majority of ISIS people don't have votes in the States and are not voting. Like, that's such a... Like, there's a big parallel, but there's such a massive difference. It's that he's almost...
But there's no voting for over 3 years. So do you think that... Like, I mean, like, it's not like he's... I can understand maybe if this was the campaign time and they were to get, Clinton and Trump to talk...
he's already got campaign ads out there, though.
And you know that he went against the neo-Nazis, so, like, you have that clip, right?
Yeah.
Of during his campaign. Like, he called them out when he needed them to vote for him. So I kind of disagree with that.
Fair enough.
But now here's the issue.
He took a picture at the wall in Israel recently with wearing a kippah. Like neo-Nazis and the alt-right already have enough reasons not to like this fucking guy. They don't want the Jews running the world, and here he is at the wall praying.
Now,
anyway,
no one's gonna argue that Obama wasn't a president or Bill Clinton wasn't a president and did do messed up things. That's what presidents do. Like they sign orders for people to get killed. That's what the president of America does. But they also did a lot of good things that moved us in under Obama's reign. They legalized gay marriage in the States on the federal level. So there's a lot, and Obamacare, right? That people are they're trying to damage now. So they did do a lot of really shady stuff. But that's par for the course as a president of the United States. You're going to be doing any world leader. You're going to be doing some shady stuff that people aren't aware of. People are going to lose their lives because of it. But then to do nothing good and have this and have neo-Nazis on your side.
Again, I don't want people to think I'm a Trump supporter because I am not.
Right.
But I'm a fact supporter. Okay, the facts are whether it was instituted by Obama's campaign and led into now Donald Trump's, there have been 1 million jobs created in the United States since he's taken presidency. The stock market has increased greatly, which is helping the economy. There is some good. Again, I'm not defending Trump, but I think we got to be careful in saying, what the facts are. And I don't even know all the facts. These are the simple ones that I talked about.
The market's an interesting one because I remember there was a report, and it's in spite of Donald Trump, the market has decided not to take him seriously, so the Dow's up. So it's I agree with you. It's actually very tough because obviously any president would take credit for it. But if a market analyst is telling you, well, they're sort of just ignoring the president, then, what do you trust? So that's so hard to pin down.
I'm just kind of, all of me is just wondering, it's like, and I'll get more into the riots or the protests and then the terrible criminal terrorist act. It is a terrorist act at that point.
Absolutely. Domestic terrorism, for sure.
It is 1,000,000%. But I guess it's just how the media and how everyone is escalating it to a point that I don't know why people aren't just taking a deep breath. As terrible as this situation is, going, right now it kind of is what it is. Let's stop, I say this all the time, let's start tarnishing the president, every 2 seconds we have the opportunity to do that. And let's start showing the leadership on the other side. Let's start showing how we would deal with this in this situation to remind voters that it's only a few years away till we start campaigning again, to know that before this gets out of hand, we are going to grab it back to the way it should be. And that's the stuff that frustrates me, because I don't really see the media highlighting that. And there were some great tweets from the left about dealing with that situation that weren't actually saying how Trump dealt with it, if that makes sense. Like, I just wish people said it is with the way it is, with the way Trump's dealing with it. We don't have to like it. Let's show a better example on how we can deal with it without smearing that as well. Does that make sense, Fouad?
Yeah, it does. But again, I think part of the reason why the media is so on him is they're reflecting the general population in the States, and they, for the most part, especially the people who voted for him, a lot of them now are starting to have second thoughts, and they're very upset because he's not doing a lot of the things that he said he would, and like he's not shaking the system up the way they thought he would. So now they're like, why aren't you doing it? Why are you doing all these other weird things? Why are you making us look bad for voting for you? Like, I'm sure a lot of people who voted for him didn't want the Muslim ban, but that was like immediately, that was the one thing that's like, why are you doing this? I put my name on you, and now you're doing this on my behalf? I never asked for this. So I think that's why the population is like angry at him, and the media is reflecting that because that's where the ratings are.
I know I saw today that his approval rating's the lowest it's ever been at 34%, but we also saw what his approval ratings were going into during the vote, and look, and he like he smeared all those polls. Like, I was not smeared, he crushed all those polls.
Yeah,
so I don't know what to believe anymore. And you know, whether it is great, and when I say great, I mean almost like brainwashing communication by a president. We keep hearing this fake news. Like, I do have trouble kind of believing the media only because there's another side to the story. And this is my point. It's not the Breitbart side of the story I want. It's somewhere in between. I want these minds to come somewhere in between and work through these issues. And when you're laughing, Fouad.
It's because this is how they win, Todd. They divide us and then they conquer us.
Well, and honestly, there's so much about this. Like, I was watching, I mean, if you want to get really deep, I have a couple clips. We don't necessarily need to play them, but it's African Americans talking about their support for Trump and how much they love him. And they get really deep into how the liberals and the Dems use this racist card purposely to help a voter go and protect them, but they're not actually doing anything different to protect them.
No.
And that to me is even more calculated and nuts. And these are African Americans saying it. I can play. I have the clips. It's not just me spewing stuff right now. And I'm surprised. You want to play a couple more clips from? We got tons of show. Let's play some more clips.
Joe's got to go at 5, so I would like to.
Joe's got to leave right at 5.
Yeah.
What does he have?
I think he's got a cool party to go to at 6 or something. I don't know.
Okay. Just play 5 more minutes of clips. It's too good. We'll get him in at 4:40. Don't worry.
So
We'll get Joe.
clip?
We have a good 20 minutes with Joe, and he'll stay to 5:10. Trust me. Okay.
All right, next Trump.
Play a little more Trump.
I had to see the facts, unlike a lot of reporters. Nazis were there. I didn't know David Duke was there. I wanted to see the fact.
And he has called out David Duke
Yeah.
before.
So that's a shorter one.
Yeah. What else? Again, I'm not defending him. People, I just trying to.
Well, the David Duke thing is very fair. Like, you're going to an extreme if you're going to say, well, you know, he's like, whatever.
I know, but these dick wipes, these scourge of society, these stupid, ignorant pricks, these neo-Nazis, all right, they got permit.
Yeah.
So, like, they're dickheads. Ignore them. That's my whole thing. It's a fringe little community. It's not as big as it used to be in the day. I read another great article of Ben Shapiro saying they don't really have a lot of steam, these guys. They have a Facebook page and shit.
And the Tea Party was a bigger faction, and that's already gone and dissolved. So, more Trump.
What about the alt-left that came charging at the, as you say, the alt-right? Do they have any semblance of guilt?
This is Senator, what do you stand?
Let me ask you this. What about the fact they came charging?
Doesn't this remind you of Batman, like Gotham City, the way?
Swinging clubs. Do they have any problem? I think they do. So, you know, as far as I'm concerned, that was a horrible, horrible day. Wait a minute. I'm not finished. I'm not finished, fake news. That was a horrible day.
Fouad HP, chime in on that. This new term that is going to take off in the Republican world, in the strong sort of Tea Party-ish alt-right world, they're going to start the alt-left. What do you make of this?
I haven't heard a lot about it, but I get where it's coming from. Like, and I feel like it's like a backlash to the alt-right. Like, it's like another monster they've created. You just keep creating these monsters, right? Like, we pushed so far to one side, and then people who feel marginalized by that side's statements, then start to push back as hard as they can on the other side, and now you got this new group. And now because of that, it like emboldens the other group that was initially marginalizing them. So now they get like stronger and have deeper views, and then the same thing happens here, and just keeps growing and growing until we're so far apart that we all just want to kill each other.
Civil war.
Boom.
It'll be a civil war in America before a war with another country.
They're due. They're due for one. They fought a lot of wars in a lot of different countries. They're due for one in their own.
In their
country.
own. Well said.
It's not going to be like Captain America, where
it's not going to be cool. Not going to be fun.
Captain Rogers is going to be able to write some mushy note. Dear Tony Stark, I'm so sorry.
Nope.
I'm secretly still friends. We can't pull that shit.
Not at all.
You know, I almost got emotional hearing you talk, because here I am saying, like, you know, part of me gets why he says the alt-left, okay? And it's not comparing it to the alt-right. The alt-right are just like, he's not, and maybe he is comparing it, but when I say it, I'm not. The alt-left is just a group that is way more extremist than probably typically anyone we know would be, in terms of putting on balaclavas, having mace in hand, going to rallies with bats and hairspray and lighters and things like that. This is flipping over police cars, like stuff that you've seen at the G20 in the past. I don't know anyone that would do that stuff. These aren't alt-right people. These are alt-left people. Again, if there was a gauge, I would think that the alt-right are like the 12 out of 10 out of heinous, and these alt-left are like, 8, 9 out of 10s and heinous. They're still pretty bad, but they're not as terrible. They don't want to eliminate races and religions, from what I understand. They just want to, maybe they're more vigilante and they want to protect this stuff through violence, which is not the way to do it. And the reason I get emotional, I was like, when you're talking for it, I almost started thinking to cry, because I'm so strongly opinion in that we should be able to call a spade. And if you're a terrible human being by doing something that is illegal, then there should be some sort of repercussions for you. And there are people in the alt-left who there should be some sort of repercussions towards.
Yeah,
we can't ignore that either.
No, sure. We can't have double standards. We can't just be like, this side goes to jail and this side gets like a medal.
Yeah, there's still, it's not, you don't fight fire with fire. It's not the mentality. You won't win. No one will win that way.
But extremism is always a response. It's never like the first reaction to something. It's always like something happens and a group feels like they don't get their say. So they respond by like lashing out in this way because they feel like they're not being heard or they're not being taken seriously. So again, it's like it's the circumstances and the environment, the atmosphere that has kind of come to a boil right now is what's creating these people. It's not like none of these people wake up in the morning and they're like, I would like to hit someone with a bat today.
But maybe the alt-right are. That's where they're worse off. Like they actually do want to like do some terrible things. And watch that Vice documentary. You'll see this one fucking dickhead who's totally like saying that, we'll go if we got to go. Like they're ready for it.
Yeah, I know. There was those militia guys in Virginia that were like armed to the teeth, walking around with like assault rifles, looking like they're ready for war. Like it's crazy.
It's all, and back to the emotional part of it is, I have this little boy at home who's 2 years old, and I think about the state of the world, and now that I'm older, like when I was younger and I was 30, like maybe I would have been the type, especially as a Jewish guy, and not that I'm like a proud Jew or even a very religious, I'm actually not religious at all in terms of Jew, but there is some, definitely there's a part of me that wants to never allow anyone to look at someone derogatory just because we are Jewish or want to eliminate us because we are Jewish. So I might stand up to that at one point when I was younger. And now the advice I would give to my child as an older guy is like, I don't want to put myself in the line of fire knowing that something could happen, and I want to be here for you. So how do we do this through educated means? How do we do this through, and I maybe don't have the answer, but like the answer to me isn't starting a fight with them. Yeah. It's almost ignoring them in a more intellectual way and let them have their 300 people at this fucking rally that these assholes did get a permit for. The city allowed it in Charlottesville. Don't get me wrong. I don't know why they should have done that. And that's what a lot of people were protesting in the first place as well, that the city even allowed it. But I don't know. Maybe I'm a coward. Maybe that makes me a coward, but I would have ignored it.
I don't think that makes you a coward. I think it's smart, but the only problem is that you run the risk. There's a good chance, like if you ignore them, there's a good chance they just kind of fizzle away, like we were talking about earlier. Yeah. But you also run the risk of them growing power because like there's nothing there to resist them. So like you are taking a risk by not by choosing to ignore them.
That's interesting too, because could they maybe if everyone ignored that one, maybe they go, all right, well, let's get a permit for another one, and let's get a couple hundred more people. We'll go, and we'll find the other guys in the state
people,
over.
Exactly. More people will see, like, oh, no one was opposed to that.
That's interesting. I never thought
out.
about that.
Right, so there's a risk on both sides. So like this, it's definitely, I agree. I think ignoring them, like screaming in their faces, is going to add fuel to the fire.
Can you do a peaceful sit and just sit there with a smile on your face and literally with signs like "You're an ignorant pig"? Like, just isn't there easy?
It's hard when people are waving Nazi flags around.
But
it's really tough.
I don't find it hard. I laugh. I kill people with kindness my whole life. That's why I've killed ignorant people with kindness my whole life, because it infuriates them more. They get more angry at themselves because they have no effect on me. I love that approach. I don't know. Love it.
It's like punching a butterfly, right? Like you don't get the satisfaction because there's nothing substantial there for you to like feel.
Exactly. I don't know. It's like, I was going to say something really sexual, but I won't say it. It's like having a sex with a lady who's had sex with thousands of guys, so you don't feel much. No.
That's not true.
I know. That's it. The science.
Vaginas are great, just for the record. I like to say they're very good, no matter how many dicks they've had inside. I've always been a fan. Never been like, hey, there's been 20 dicks in here, right? I can tell. Like, no, it's never been the case. I'm like, this is great.
There's just so much ego. They're so ignorant. It's just ego. They don't even know what they're talking about. The one thing that I think is brilliant, and we'll take a break, and maybe we'll come back and talk about this with Fawad HB. The one thing that's great that came out of this was what I felt, and do you have the clip of Heather Heyer's mother? It's Heyer, right? Is it Heyer or Heyer? I still haven't heard a clip.
What are you talking about?
Okay. This is the lady who got hit by the car.
Oh, okay.
And this mother's speech at her service today, at her memorial, this to me is somewhere in the middle, because I have a feeling this lady might have even had different views than her daughter. And you'll understand this in terms of like her political protests and things. And it is so beautiful. Have a listen.
Not paying attention. She paid attention. She made a lot of us pay attention. Oh my gosh, dinner with her, we knew was going to be an ordeal of listening and conversation and perhaps disagreement, but it was going to happen.
Pause it.
And so my husband would say, okay, I'm going to go out in the car.
There you go.
See, I think that this is a mother right now, after her daughter just so tragically died, is saying, I didn't really agree with everything she stood up for. And maybe she's got some old school mentality and old school thoughts in her and stuff. But listen to her go on. I love, because this is the compromise that America needs. It's this speech.
Car and play on my video game for a while, and we would sit and would grill, and she and I would talk, and I would listen, and we would negotiate, and I would listen, and we talked about all this stuff.
Debate,
we talked about
healthy.
politics. We talked about anything that caught her eye that she felt was fair, unfair. She'd talk about her feelings about the office and how things were going. I mean, she just talked. The girl loved to talk. And she was single, so there was nobody to listen at home, so Mama got a lot of it. And that was wonderful. You never think you're going to bury your child. You never think to take those pictures. They asked me for pictures for this, and I struggled. I had pictures from her childhood. But I had to go to Facebook to find pictures of my child because we were always together. I saw her a couple times a month at least, and we would text each other fairly often, and we would Facebook message at bedtime, I love you. I love you. You doing okay? Yep, I love you. So I have no regrets on that part. Take pictures of the ones that you love because you don't know when they're not going to be there. But here's what I want to say to you today. This could be a storm in a teacup, and it could all be for nothing. I could have said, let's don't do this publicly. Let's have a small private funeral. But, that's not who Heather was. Anybody who knew Heather said, yep, this is the way she had to go, big and large. Had to have the world involved because that's my child. She's just that way. Always has been, and she will continue to be. Because here's the message. Although Heather was a caring and compassionate person, so are a lot of you. A lot of you go that extra mile. And I think the reason that what happened to Heather has struck a chord is because We know that what she did is achievable. We don't all have to die. We don't all have to sacrifice our lives. They tried to kill my child to shut her up. Well, guess what? You just magnified her.
She goes on, and Fuad, isn't that just so beautiful for that to come out of something so terrible?
Yeah, absolutely. Like anytime anyone is fighting for a big cause and they die, they immediately become a martyr, right? Like they really did something good for the left by doing this crazy.
And hopefully hopefully the love and compassion part is what she's saying there. I think is she's like, a lot of you have this in you.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are, where you come from. I don't care if you're alt-right and this alt-left, which I think does exist.
No, because those people go home and they kiss their families and they know how to love. It's just now extending that love beyond, your skin color or your immediate circle. But like clearly we all have it in us. No one thinks they're the bad guys. The Nazis didn't think they were the bad guys. They weren't like, we're gonna ruin the world for everyone. They thought they were making the world a better place. I'm sure on the ground level, some people were like, oh yeah, we're doing some shit. But at the higher ups, they're all like, this is for the betterment of the world. These all right guys are like, this is for the betterment of the world.
Yeah, until you kill or something. Like you must get remorse. I don't know.
Some people rationalize that stuff away. They're like, I killed a bad guy. Everyone else is always the bad guy. It's never like whoever's opposing you is the bad guy. It's never like clear cut.
Well, I know is I just hope that people can dig deep and find the love and compassion again. And that's the only thing. Like you said, extend that love the way you love your family and the way you love your friends who are there for you. There's no reason why you can't love someone because they're very different. And you know what? It's hopeful and ideological and almost like, oh, we live in a land of chocolate as it sounds. It's like, look at those ignorant who are in that alt-right neo-Nazi party. I heard Humble Howard this morning do a great bit about new Nazis, by the way. He's like, what do the old ones think? We at least had uniforms in the old day. It was you guys just have white t-shirts. Anyway, look at them and just go, somewhere deep in you, there's some sort of love and compassion. You just haven't figured it out yet. And you will.
Absolutely.
And give them that message and let them think you're, they'll probably think of every derogatory word for you having that positivity. And try and kill people with kindness. That's my only advice. And it could be wrong. Maybe I'm cowardly, but that's my advice I want to give today.
The Todd Shapiro Show.